Banshee Moon.
Hey everybody! Thanks for watching the videos. Be sure to subscribe, click the watermark up there or the subscribe button down there, and have fun.
Hi everybody, I'm here with Farm Girl and we are about to do one of the things that we really enjoy doing, which is making our own wine.
And drink a little bit.
Yeah, Farm Girl is opening up a glass of our last batch of wine. What is that? Sauvignon Blanc?
This is Luna Bianca.
This is a Chardonnay that we like to make. So, but you don't want to drink too much wine when you're making wine because you want to be on the ball and not messing in that. So I just want to go over the basics of what we do as far as making wine from a kit. You can go to a local brewery supply, or home brew supply, or a winery that has winemaking supplies, and they'll usually carry these wine kits. The wine kit is right here. Here's a one that I use. Today we're going to make a Sauvignon Blanc, and this is actually, when you buy a kit, it pretty much contains the ingredients you need to make a batch of wine, which is roughly 5-6 gallons. However, there's not that much liquid in the box. It's less than 3 gallons, but you're going to be adding water. So we'll talk about that. So, aside from the kit, which will contain these basic items, you'll have you'll have your yeast, and you'll have your bentonite, which is a clarifying agent, and you'll have some preservatives that will come later in the process. So those will be your ingredients. Some people call them chemicals for your winemaking. Those will come in your kit, as will some basic instructions. Well, some very detailed instructions. And this process is what do we usually about a month?
42 days, I think.
35 to 42 days. Farm Girl.
Oh, we cut it short sometimes.
Yeah, she usually likes to pull some wine a little early, so at that point we actually have to go ahead and bottle the whole batch. So what we're going to do, what you're going to need, the accessories that you're going to need in addition to your winemaking kit, you can also buy as a kit. Those kits will come with a primary fermenter.
That's about 7.9 gallons.
Yeah, and then I think the kit comes with a hygrometer and a test jar and just a few other things. But you could also buy these things a la carte. Yeah, I think it comes with a corker. So,
Not this.
at any rate, we'll go over some of the things that you need. You're going to need a mixing spoon, a primary fermenter, which you'll notice has a hole in the top, which is where we will put our airlock. See, so you will also need an airlock. You'll need a carboy, which you'll also use an airlock with, and you can use the same airlock, but you'll need a bung for that. And I prefer these plastic bungs to the rubber bungs, because when you go to your supplier, here's my tip: sniff the bung. These good plastic ones, they don't impart any smell or flavor, but I feel like the rubber ones have a terrible smell, and we feel like that can contaminate the wine. So think plastic as opposed to rubber. That's my advice. So those are some of the things you'll need, and yes, I believe I said a hygrometer, which will test the gravity of your wine. You're going to need to test it straight out when you start up. And it's a good idea to have a wine thief. You'll see how this works. It'll be explained. So you can get some pointers from the suppliers, but this way we can get wine out of here and pour it into the test jar to do the first test. Make sure you have a corker, but you're not going to need that till you're ready to bottle your batch. Save your bottles. If you're planning on doing this, start saving your wine bottles. I like to save our favorite ones. You're going to need about 30 bottles for an average kit. So put those aside. Here's another optional thing you can get when you're going to need corks. Get yourself 30 or 40 corks, and if you want to foil your wine, you can put these little handy foils on your wine. These are relatively inexpensive. And then you can heat shrink them with a hairdryer or a heat gun. We use this cleanser. It's just really handy to have bags of these cleansers that kind of sterilize your carboy, or your carboy and your primary fermenter. You'll mix them with, this with water. You'll notice it's kind of a bleaching agent. It has a bleach smell to it. So get a few packs of that. Today, when we make Sauvignon Blanc, we both like a really grapefruit flavor to our Sauvignon Blanc, so we'll actually add some of that today. We'll show you how we do that. Pardon me.
That's why we do it.
No sense in getting poshed. Well, there you go, some real
Cheers.
easy to follow instructions. Going to take about a month of time, but not a heck of a lot of work. It's a pretty simple process if you just pay attention and read and follow along. All right, so we're ready to go. Now we're going to put you'll see us putting some warm water in here, about 2 liters, a half a gallon of warm water, so that we can put in and dissolve. It's going to be warm so that we can dissolve our bentonite. That's a clarifying agent. It helps clear the wine. It helps polish it. It makes it nice and clear. And you start that before you even start the fermentation. Then we're going to pour our juice into the bentonite in water solution. And at that point, we're going to mix in our yeast, and that will begin the fermentation process. Well, actually, we're going to put an additional 2 liters in, and then we'll do that. So here we go. Okay, so Farm Girl's getting the water ready over there. She's got about a half a gallon heated up. We're going to be bringing this to about 6 gallons ultimately within the next few minutes here. So we're going to start with this half a gallon of hot water. We heat it up to about 120 degrees so that we can dissolve the bentonite in that. It always works for us. So she's going to go ahead and pour that in there. There you go. And you can see I have my bag of juice taken out of the box there, and it's ready to go. And here's my bentonite. So she's going to add that.
Try and make sure I don't spill any.
Okay, so she's going to sprinkle this bentonite on the surface of the warm water there. That's pretty warm.
You want it to really melt in there.
And she's going to stir it up for about 30 or 40 seconds. Lovely Farm Girl.
It's supposed to look like this milky substance. It looks perfect.
Yeah, and you can see a lot of people complain. I guess people get different products. Some people complain about having clay at the bottom. But as you can see, that bentonite is dissolving just fine in that warm water.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to bring up the point that we don't use very hot water.
Yeah, it calls for it. A lot of the packages.
Yeah, and like we say, that dissolves fine. And the reason we don't like to have the water very hot is because our ambient temperature makes these liquids, our water out of our filter, we use filtered water for this, is typically around 80 degrees. And when we get to so possibly the grape juice is around 78 to 80 degrees. So when we get to the stage in a minute here where we begin fermentation, our liquid should be between 72 and 75 degrees. So we have to be very careful not to warm everything up too much. In fact, we have some of our filtered water that we will be adding next has been chilled. Yep, that's been chilled just for this purpose, to keep our batch cool to begin fermentation at 72 to 75 degrees. So now I'm going to add the juice.
Ooh,
You gotta be careful. And it's just a pop top on these. They're kind of hard to pry off. We're going to pop that top off. And she's going to hold this bag very carefully without knocking our wine over. And there it goes. This is the grape juice, or the must, as some will call it.
Must.
And there's our must.
We must have juice.
We must have juice. All right, so now Farm Girl's got some, is that the chilled water? Farm Girl's got some regular room temperature.
About 80 degrees.
She's got some room temperature
64 ounces.
filtered water, a half a gallon. And we're just gonna go ahead and rinse the bag to make sure that we get all of the must out of here. You can see some sediment. All right, so there we go. Watch my wine, lady.
It's getting bruised. And look at it. It looks like juice. It's a lot of juice we would have missed if we didn't do this. All right, put this in there.
So there we go. There's another half a gallon to your batch that you've used to rinse out your juice bag.
So now what are we up to? Gallon and...
So we're up to almost 4 gallons. Okay, so now Jennifer's going to add some water to the container while I prepare my sock full of grapefruit peel, which will give us that nice grapefruit flavor.
So I need to add water to make it 6 gallons, and this is the 6 gallon mark right here. I don't know if you can see it from there, but I'm gonna start with cool water because it's about 54 degrees. We refrigerated it because it has to be between 72 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit before you can start the fermentation process. So I'm gonna add this. And it's very precise. It has to be between 72 and 75 before you start that process. So basically, all that's in here so far is warm water, bentonite, juice, and some cooler water, which we're bringing up to the 6 gallon mark. And then we need to check the gravity. Make sure it's ready for the yeast so we can ferment. Almost there.
That's good.
Perfect. Right. And then we mix for 30 seconds vigorously. Smells so good. All right. So Jay's getting some wine with the wine thief. But you have to get enough wine so that your hygrometer will float.
All right, so the hygrometer is floating. Let's check that. We want this to be between 1.080 and 1.097 for this particular wine. And there we go, it is. So we can continue on and add our yeast and begin the fermentation.
Yay!
Looks good, Farm Girl.
Yeah.
Shall we proceed?
Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to pour that back in there.
You don't want to waste anything.
Yeah, that's a whole glass of wine right there.
Very small glass. All right, the grapefruit. We love the grapefruit.
And into the tank it goes. Now, your kits will contain these types of flavor agents. When we use the Chardonnay kits, we like an oaky Chardonnay. The one we make a lot is called Luna Bianca, and it will contain oak chips or oak powder, and it can be poured directly into the wine, but this just makes it a little easier.
Chips are better. Don't you think the chips are better?
Yeah, but you like it very oaky, and
yeah, but they're easier to clear.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason for the powder is to impart more oak flavor. But yeah, so I'll be doing 2 stages. I'm going to do this initial stage with this sock full of grapefruit juice, and then I'll do another sock when we move to the carboy. Grapefruit rind. I'm sorry. I'll do another grapefruit peel when we move to the carboy, because it's going to be hard to get that big. That will swell up, and it'll be hard to get into the neck of that carboy when we rack the first time. So Farm Girl's got a strip thermometer on our tank here on the primary fermenter, and you can see that it is down to around 74 degrees, which is perfect.
Perfect.
And that's why we wanted to mix some of that cool water in. Otherwise, we would be easily at 78, and there's not much chance of getting it down to 75 from 78.
Yeah.
So we're ready to go. Now she's going to sprinkle the yeast on top. You don't want to stir it. You don't want to stir the yeast in. You just want to sprinkle it on top and let it do its job. It's going to consume the sugars in this must and convert it to alcohol.
And it's gonna bubble, bubble, bubble.
Yeah, and we're gonna check the fermenter over the next 24 hours and make sure it's bubbling. To make sure this little guy is bubbling, we're going to fill this halfway full of water right now so that it will become a vapor lock, an airlock.
Yay! It's almost ready.
All right, so Farm Girl's going to fill that halfway full of distilled water. She's not going to put the top on very tight yet. We can just kind of leave this loose for now. It's not tight enough so that no fruit flies can get in there. And we're going to put it in a cool, dark place.
In the wine cellar.
In the wine cellar.
AKA guest room.
And that's all there is to your first stage.
Yay! So now we're going to wait 5 to 7 days, check the gravity, make sure it's correct. Then we're going to rack it, or in other words, siphon it into the carboy, and that will be the completion of the second step.